And we're back for some Combat Corner, UFC 262 last night. Great undercard and a great main card from what I saw on the social interwebs. But Max is here to give us his insight and analysis. So, Max, I will throw it over to you.
Yeah, as I said at the start of this podcast, I was going in and out of consciousness following this card. So I don't have a ton to say about it, and it's a little segmented, but certainly got some takes. And the first thing I want to do is kind of pat myself on the back because all three fights I got right, and I was pretty close in calling how they'd play out. The first one being Edson Barboza versus Shane Burgos. Um, It like I said, Burgos put the pressure on Barboza. He had some success with that, but the defense just wasn't there with that kind of pressure when you're standing in front. And Barboza was able to land continuously. The torso of Burgos was very red, not quite as red as the blood on Barboza's leg from how many times he kicked Burgos, but that didn't seem to slow down his pace at all. Uh, he landed to the body, he landed to the head, he landed to the body, he landed to the leg, and eventually the head got the message and shut off about 5 seconds after the final hook from Barboza went in. Just the same kind of shot he'd been landing all night, stepping in, catching Burgos with his guard down when Burgos was putting on the pressure, and putting a lot of oomph behind that shot. And eventually Burgos's body got the message and went down, which I've never seen before, and was a very wild knockout. But congratulations to Edson Barboza. I do think this fight showed his ceiling at featherweight because while he did stop Burgos and put a bit of a kicking clinic on at times, Burgos also did have a fair amount of success pressuring Barboza just with the jab, the strikes. And you think about the top of the division, especially Max Holloway, and it's really hard to imagine Barboza overcoming that. So a great win for him. He's a top 5 featherweight probably, but I don't think he ever makes it to a title shot or gets a crack, though. Different people will match up differently. I guess what I'm really saying is Edson Barboza will never beat Max Holloway. Maybe he matches up really well against Alex Volkanovski. I'm not sure. The next fight I want to talk about is one which I unfortunately did not really catch, but I do have to pat myself on the back because I called it exactly how it went. Domination from Beneil Dariush over Tony Ferguson, a submission that almost anyone else would have tapped to, but not Tony Ferguson. And another 3 rounds lost for Ferguson on this losing streak that he is on, which, as I said in the last episode, I do not think Tony Ferguson will retire until the UFC forces his hand. But his stock is falling fast. And unfortunately, with that, the value of a win over him is also falling. I don't really know what this does for Beneil at this point. It's when a guy just keeps losing every round and not really getting to show what he can do, it's hard to rate how impressive a win over him is. He does add one more win to a fantastic streak that he's on. And just the merit of that streak alone, I think, puts him deserving of like a top 5 important matchup. But it is a top 5 full of killers. Maybe he should fight Michael Chandler, who just lost in the main event to Charles Oliveira, the new lightweight UFC champion of the world, which, again, I woke up as the second round was starting, watched Charles Oliveira land a perfectly placed left hook uppercut and put Chandler down and finish it in just perfect fashion. And that's what that whole sequence was. Perfect. The hand not too loopy, the positioning right where he needed to be to time it. I love it. Wasn't quite a hook. It wasn't quite an uppercut, but to do that like with your lead hand and generate that much power without like reaching down and having to swing up for the fences is just really impressive. And her, I think the third or fourth UFC event I ever watched as a budding fan was Olivera losing to Paul Felder at UFC 217, I believe. So to have seen that for his first fight and then watch him go on this ridiculous winning streak that has now culminated in a UFC title has been fantastic. The stand up evolution at this point is undeniable. To just have the pressure to knock out Chandler, like I said, I think a jujitsu guy like Oliveira is best suited to take on a wrestler who he's not afraid of getting taken down by. But man, that left hand was just perfect. So impressive how far he's come and evolved his game. You don't get to the top of anywhere near the top 15 of the lightweight division without striking beyond like what you need in almost any other division. And he's now at the top of it. So I'm so happy to see Oliveira as the champion. This guy has the best jiu-jitsu in the division for sure. He showed fantastic wrestling against Ferguson, and now he just got a beautiful knockout to become champion. So get you a guy who can do it all to be your champ, and that champ is Charles Oliveira. Hopefully his next fight is against Dustin Poirier after Poirier takes care of the McGregor trilogy. If it doesn't go that way, it gets a lot more complicated, but we'll save that for then. And for now, just leave it at congrats to Charles Oliveira. I lied. I'm not going to leave it there. I need to do some finger wagging at Texas MMA because I don't know how the hell they pick their judges, but I didn't think they could ever do worse than Joe Solis, the guy who didn't give James Krause a round after he had 4.5 minutes of back control looking for a rear naked choke. But they seem to have giving out these bizarre 30-27 decisions multiple times on the night. I didn't see the first one, but I heard it was an absolute travesty. I did see the second one, giving Caitlin Chukagian the first and second round in her fight. She got outstruck and by far harder punches in the first round, and then like mounted and kind of dominated for like a good 2 minutes in there with like chokes. 30-27 on that fight is an absurd score. Texas, you're an embarrassment already, but you don't need to be any more embarrassing than you are. And in certain things, fix your judges, please.